Hello, everybody. Welcome to another DCM special with your digital bad boy, Javon Manning. You know, you see it down there in the little that side in the corner. Today we're going to be talking about media analysis skills. This one is actually a very interesting one for me because we live in a world of AI, like our previous generations did not, but we live in a world of AI, of different things getting changed around, media stories getting leaked that aren't real, AI generated images, videos, photos, and now like just recently like Sora 2 comes out and you can pretty much make any kind of video and it looks real. So if you didn't see the Sora thing, you wouldn't actually know that it's true. So what better time to talk about some media analysis skills? So let's just kind of jump right into it. So yeah, I got my notes ready this time because I want to make sure I'm talking about this stuff because we got a few case studies to go over. So today's roadmap, we're going to just talk about four things. The first thing is we're going to be fact checking and spotting bias. So we're going to look at real viral misinformation cases and how the bias shapes the news and how that coverage affects us. The next thing will be breaking down visuals and messaging. So manipulated photos, AI images, AI videos, and different techniques to actually show and look for when you're looking at these different things to kind of tell what's going on. Number 3 is evaluating the credibility and hidden ads in the messaging you're seeing. So that's like influencer marketing, deception, and just astroturfing campaigns. That's actually a new word for me, is astroturfing. I did not hear that until recently, and now I feel like I see it everywhere. But fourth thing we're going to talk about is your toolkit. I'm going to be giving you resources that you can use to help you identify and analyze different forms of media to make sure that you're getting the full story and the correct story. So everything we're going to cover is going to be examples all the way from 2023 to 2025. I didn't include all the examples I have, but I included a few so we can kind of jump right in. So fact checking and spotting bias. Why this matters. 73% of people see false news every week. It means 73% of the people in the United States are reporting that they see misinformation at least once per week. That's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of false news getting spread every week. And that's kind of alarming. And false news actually spreads 6 times faster than real news. And, with social media enhancing that number actually might be higher today. So, but yeah, studies show that it spreads 6 times faster with inaccurate news and accurate news. And that is also very dangerous. That has some real consequences. What are those real consequences? The stock market can drop. We experienced that with DeepSeek earlier this year. Bomb threats, that is actually something that happens. Different types of threats, people fighting with each other. It causes a lot of different things that are going on. And then election interference. It can interfere with who people vote for. It can interfere with who they want to support, different things like that. But the good news, all these skills that we're going to teach, they're learnable. So you're going to join the 27% that knows how to spot the misinformation. Case study number 1, they're eating the pets. So in Springfield, Ohio, there was a hoax talking about a certain demographic of people were eating neighbors' dogs and cats and their pets. And crazy statement right off the bat, like crazy statement. But what is interesting about it is that it started with a Facebook post claiming from a third-hand account, meaning like my neighbor's daughter's friend saw this. And it's like, well, that's kind of interesting. Okay. But then it was amplified. JD Vance, he shared it and then mentioned it in a presidential debate in front of 67 million people. So that amplifies it. 67 million people now have this random information. And then number 3 was debunked. City officials, police, and the mayor all denied that was actually true. But the news is already out there. And then number 4, the consequences. There were bomb threats to schools, hospitals, city hall, and residents were harassed because of this fake news. But if you notice, there's a telephone effect thing kind of going on with the first Facebook post thing going on, because it's like, well, my neighbor's daughter's friend said this, and then it goes to the next person, and then it goes to the next person. Someone shares it online, and now we're here. And now we're here with real consequences that really affect more than just one group of people. They affect everyone, and for a longer period of time than we would hope for. The second thing is the original poster even admitted that she did not see it. She didn't have firsthand knowledge of it. She didn't know what everybody was talking about. And then that's kind of another thing, is like, even if that person that everyone says saw it comes out and says like, hey, that's not what I saw, or I actually don't know if that's the truth, or I don't know where this came from. The news is already out there. People have already spun their own narratives from it. And now there's this huge story going around that nobody knows what's going on. This is a perfect example of like how unverified claims persist even after they're officially debunked. It's just, even if it's unverified, even if it's debunked, it doesn't matter, because now the news is just out there. But the question I have for you guys is, what red flags do you see from how this claim was originated? For me, that red flag would be my neighbor's daughter's friend said so-and-so. And it's like, okay, well, did you see that? Like, how am I supposed to trust this news you're giving me if you didn't see it, and the person you're talking about doesn't even know if this person for sure saw or said all of that stuff? Yeah. it's just not. It's not very wise to listen to that news. And extraordinary things like hearing that is an extraordinary thing. So with extraordinary news, there needs to be extraordinary evidence. If I don't see any evidence, I'm not believing it. So that brings me into this next thing. It's just like, it's a third-hand source. It's there's no evidence, there's no photos, especially in a world of social media. Like in the world of social media, in the world that everybody has a phone, why were there no pictures? Why are there no videos? Why are there no like social media posts about it? And it's like, well, now we have source, so somebody could probably generate that. But like, still, there's no way that there's no photos, there's no evidence, there's no real evidence. And officials denied it. So it's like when our officials say like, no, like the police, the mayor, the city manager, everyone is all saying like, this isn't true. Well, everybody can't be lying. So come on now. But just hearing that story appeals to emotions. It has a lot of emotional appeals. It's designed to trigger outrage rather than inform you, because you'll listen to outrage much faster than you'll listen to an informed decision. So, yeah, like I said before, the pattern is extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Sorry about that. Phone was not silenced. Next thing is a case study of Hurricane Helene in the FEMA misinformation. It claimed over 230 plus people's lives, unfortunately, but people were saying that hurricane victims are only getting $750 from FEMA and nothing more. The truth was that people were getting $750 immediately in serious needs assistance, i.e. food, essentials, water, those things. But victims could receive up to $42,500 for housing and repairs. Much different than just getting $750. But the $750 is just the first payment while the other aids process. And it's like, here's $750 to get you in a place to where you can, feed yourself, clothe yourself, and get your essential needs while we wait for these things to process, because so many people were affected by this disaster. So the tactic was a partial truth presented as a complete picture. And this is more sophisticated than an outright lie, but it's still very harmful to people involved and the people that want to help, and just the people that are seeing and learning about this, because now you're causing panic by sharing these kind of stories that is unnecessary to start. So when we're thinking about these things, let's make sure we analyze those things. Let me double check my notes, make sure I go over everything. So yeah, because of this, FEMA actually did create a hurricane rumor response page to combat this. And personally, I think our institutions like that are made to help people should not have to do that in order to fight misinformation. But I'm glad that they did it, because now they can combat that. But I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know that kind of thing existed. But misinformation does tend to thrive during crises, because emotions run high. And when emotions run high, information is very valuable, but it's very looked over as well. So just know, when you are hearing these things, like I said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Saying that people are only getting $750 for a hurricane disaster relief is not exactly ordinary. That doesn't even sound right. But when you have evidence, when you look at the facts, when you look at the evidence, you can tell that that's not true. And you look at the whole story before you share these stories, before you comment on it. Just make sure that you're looking at the whole part of it, and make sure there's evidence supporting what people are saying. If not, we're endangering everybody. What else do I got for you? That's it. That's it for that part. So next thing, spotting bias in our news coverage. So in the 2024 elections, we had the same events, different stories. So left-leaning outlets use keywords like interview, comments, women, John Kelly claims, framing Tim Walz as folksy, different things like that. And the right-leaning outlets said keywords like border, immigration, poll, points, framing Harris flip-flops as Trump poll gains. So in the period of July through November 2024, Kamala Harris had 78% of positive news coverage, while Donald Trump had 85% negative coverage over the same period. So why am I showing you this? It's mainly because it's not to say, lean left, lean right. It's more to say that let's focus on what these people are actually doing and not trying to find unbiased news, because it's going to be biased whatever situation you're in. Because if you're in the left, if you're looking at Kamala Harris in that situation, you're going to see more positive stuff on her. But if you're looking at Donald Trump, you're going to see more negative stuff on him. And it's not to say let's look for unbiased news. Let's just recognize that there is bias and diversely consume the information that is being given to you, because there may be some things on the left side that make sense and there may be some things on the right side that make sense, but you take both of those things, you put that information together, and then you make an informed decision from there, not just using one outlet or the other, or looking for an outlet that is unbiased, because that's simply not something that's going to happen. So when you see things like this, just kind of look into those different things. But it's like I said before, it's not about which side is right. It's just about recognizing that all sources have a source of bias. And it's not just what they report, but it's which stories that they choose to report. Because it's more like if they're choosing to report on something, they're choosing to deny something else. If they're choosing to focus on one thing, they're choosing to not focus on something else. So just take those things into mind when you're doing it, when you're making your educated decisions. And the solution isn't to find, unbiased news. It's just to make our educated decisions from a diverse place of information. Is there anything else that I have for you guys? Okay, so a couple tools you can use. You can use tools like All Sides or Media Bias or Fact Check just to understand where these sources are learning their information from and where they're getting their information from. Because, if you know where they're getting their information from, or at least, where things are coming from, then you can even make an even more informed decision based off of what the sources that are giving you the information are getting their information from, because you can check those things. So your fact checking toolkit, I call it the SIFT method. It's not new at all, but you stop, don't read or share stuff immediately. Stop for a second. Let's think about it. Investigate. So let's check the source. Where did this even come from? Let's find. So let's look for better coverage. Look for where the coverage is coming from. Find all the sources and different things that we can using the sites and stuff below. And then trace. So follow the claims back to the original context of the conversation. Because, if you see the Wall Street Journal and then Yahoo Finance and then this company A and company B all said something, it's let's see where it originated from. And then before all these people started writing their own stories based on it. So trace, follow claims to the original context. A couple fact-checking sites you can use is Snopes. It talks about urban legends and different hoaxes that we have experienced. PolitiFact, this is where you can track political claims. Factcheck.org, it's a nonpartisan and academic source research. And then you can check your source bias with media bias and fact check and all sides. So a couple resources you can use while you're stopping, a couple resources you can use while you're sifting. We'll say that. So if you see this AI generated picture over here, I used a lot of AI generated images in this one just because like I don't want to get copyright, don't want to get any red flags and stuff. But so I used AI generated pictures just because it's safe. But yeah, AI generated pictures. We'll talk about those later. But a quick practice is, can you spot the red flags in this claim? Don't read the bottom because I know the answer is on the screen. But the claim is breaking. New study shows coffee cures cancer. My aunt's friend is a researcher and says doctors are hiding this. Anybody see any red flags? I see a few. So, first red flag is a third-hand source. My aunt's friend. I don't know what your aunt's friend is talking about, but I don't know about that about coffee. I never heard that in my life. And it's an extraordinary claim with no evidence. And it's like, well, we kind of need some evidence to make that decision. And then breaking, it creates a false sense of urgency. It stirs you up pretty quickly. And then conspiracy framing. Doctors are hiding this. It's like, how exactly would they hide this? Especially if you have this source. But and then of course no link to the actual study. So it's like, well, if you say something like that, I want to read the study. Like, if that's the case, it's like, I'm sure people have family members, people have different people that they want to share that with. So if you even have the story, that would be fantastic, but you don't. So there's no link, so it's got to be fake. But next thing, breaking down visuals and messaging. So we live in the age of visual deception with companies like OpenAI and Sora and Heijen and just different other video and photo generation software. It's very easy to just see something and believe that it's real because technology is advancing so fast that it's like I can look at it and man, it looks real. But the other thing is too is like social media, videos smaller and removed, so we can't always tell what is true, even if a software watermarks the software or watermarks the video to show that it is AI generated or just generated or manipulated image. There's a very big seeing is believing, like seeing is believing thing, but that is really a dead thing now, because AI generators, they create photorealistic fakes in a matter of seconds. So like I could make a picture of a cat laying next to a volcano in a matter of seconds and with no software experience at all, like with no Photoshop experience, no any of that stuff. And with social media, images spread faster. What happens when things spread faster? More people see it. When more people see it, people are 40 times more likely to be shared than like things are 40 times more likely to be shared than text alone. So like with Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Blue Sky, and there's 1,000 different sources of social media and places to share things, and they can just go heat by heat by heat. And the more people that share them, the more people it gets put in front of. Brain processing speed is another thing. We process images 60,000 times faster than we process text. So when we see an image, when we see a video, that is processed so much faster than just seeing something written alone. So yeah. Result, fake images, manipulate emotions before critical thinking kicks in. But there are still ways to tell. There are still telltale signs. So, the royal photo scandal. In the royal photo scandal, step one, there is a Kensington Palace shares an official Mother's Day photo of a certain individual. It was detected. Major news agencies spot manipulation artifacts. And 3, AP, Reuters, and AFP issue unprecedented notices to end the sharing of these articles. And then the admission. So the individual apologizes for confusion from her editing. So what was wrong? Our princess, her sleeve actually showed different editing artifacts. So yeah, her sleeve showed that there was like somebody edited a little bit, looked a little blurry. I'm not going to show the image, of course, because, copyright and stuff like that. And I don't want to have random stuff in there that could get us in trouble. So Kate's hand was very blurry while her face was very sharp. It's like, well, if this is blurry and this is sharp, that doesn't make sense. And then the photo was actually a composite of multiple images. And this just shows how even official, like this shows manipulation happens in official trusted sources. Even professionals release doctored images. Like even the professional institutions and places that you see, they still doctor their images. They still edit them. They still make them clearer. And there's certain things that can be added to it to a certain extent. But just know there are still things like when you see these photos, when you see these images, still, do a double take, check them a little bit more. Because even these official places, like this is from the Royal Palace on Mother's Day in 2024. It's like, well, you would think that they would be always telling the truth, but that's not the case. So, and a lot of people will not say anything until they get caught, if they ever do get caught. So it's another thing to kind of make sure you're paying attention to when you are seeing these different images. So how do we spot manipulated photos? Well, I'm going to tell you how. So first thing, inconsistent lighting and shadows. So if objects are lit from different directions and shadows are pointing wrong ways, this is an easy way to tell that this picture has been doctored. There's some certain things going on. The second thing is focus problems. So if some parts are unnaturally sharp, like some things, they do have a natural blur to them. Some pictures, they will be blurry in certain parts of the image, but if it looks unnatural, it probably is. Or if there's a mismatched depth of field, it's like if something should be blurry and it's very, very in focus, if something is very in focus, but part of it is blurry, that may be some signs of some manipulation in the photos. And then, of course, physical impossibilities. It's like objects overlapping incorrectly, reflections that don't match, bent straight lines. Like you see those, that's kind of obvious. It's like it's physically impossible for a lamp to be in front of the street and behind the street at the same time. It's like it's physically impossible for the lamp to be in front of the sun, but also behind it. It's like how does that even, like, it doesn't even make sense saying that. So how would it make sense in an image? Last thing is edges and artifacts. So fuzzy edges around people, around objects, mismatched colors at boundaries, and duplicate patterns. That's another instance of like, hey, yeah, there's probably some manipulation going on in there. But a little pro tip to help you with all of these is zoom into the edges and examine the details and take an extra 10 seconds before you share it, just in case. Because if you look at those edges, you zoom in on them, and you can do it on both video and photo, it'll help you. It'll definitely show, what is a little more untrue, and what's true, what's not. So yeah, Another case study we got is the Pentagon explosion. This was one that I saw and actually moved the stock market. There was an image that the Pentagon had been attacked and the stock market took a plummet. The S&P dropped like 0.3% before recovering. And this was actually the first documented case of an AI image moving a market. But I personally remember this because my account was greatly affected. It's just like the situation was an AI image was generated of an explosion that happened near the Pentagon, and it was shared by actual verified Twitter accounts and some Russian state media. So like these official accounts were like, yes, this really happened, and that caused a real panic, that caused a major sell-off in the market. And I know 0.3% sounds like a small number, but the S&P 500 is also $6,000 a share. So a 0.3% drop in the entirety of that market it's a couple billion. It's a couple billion. That's a lot of dollars that fell out of the market. It shortly recovered after, but it's just something that this shows that it's actually dangerous. It had real world effects on a lot of people, and a lot of people suffered because of it. So how can we tell that it was fake? Again, this isn't the actual image that you're seeing here. This is an AI generated image of the Pentagon with a lovely sunset. But in the picture, the building looked different from the actual Pentagon. But ask yourself, how many people know off the top of their head what the Pentagon looks like exactly? That's kind of how that stuff gets through there. But if you use Google Street, the Google Street View comparison revealed to the compared to the actual image that came out, you can see the inconsistencies. So if you use the sources that we already have access to, I mean, for those of us with our team iPhone, and for those of us that are team Android, I feel sorry for you Android users, but it's okay. We can all use Google Maps, and we can all go find where the Pentagon is, and we can all look at an image of what it looks like on there and compare it, and then see what inconsistencies we see. Number two, it was physically impossible. A street lamp appeared both in front and behind of the barrier. So like how does that make sense? Like you can't have a street lamp that's supposed to be on a street behind the barrier of the Pentagon. That doesn't even make sense. But again, it's like you see the image and you see the explosion that pulls your eyes away from everywhere else. But if you take a second and really look at the picture, it's not real. No corroboration. So there was no other photos. There was no other videos from a highly populated area. Like in the Pentagon, near the Pentagon, a lot of people are near that all the time. So if there's no eyewitnesses, there's just no any accounts. It's like, well, how are we supposed to believe that is true? So fortunately, we recovered very quickly, but we still suffered some actual effects, some real world effects from that, and a lot of people were generally scared and terrified just by that situation, because I mean, who wouldn't be? Because now that kind of marks a staple in AI manipulation and image manipulation. But let's go to our next case study. This was the Hurricane Helene AI child. So what happened? And the image was generated of a child crying while holding a puppy on a boat during the hurricane. Probably would seem harmless in one way, but it was spread by a Senator Mike Lee specifically, which he later deleted. And an RNC member actually defended, and doesn't matter if it's real. Well, that statement alone drives some actual just emotion. So now people, even if it isn't real, him saying, well, it doesn't matter if it's real, makes it feel more real, because it's like, what is going on? Like, you don't care about what's going on. You don't understand what's going on. It's very dangerous. Again, I didn't generate the picture. I'm not going to take the picture. We have our lovely pink and orange sunset firefighters going through some rubble. So it's another thing is like, I mean, you could think that's real if you don't know what, hurricane disaster relief people wear and what it actually looks like. But we're going to keep it nice and light, and we're just going to have them, out there in the rubble, just doing their pink and orange thing. But last thing is AI detection signs. So when you look at the picture, there are malformed limbs and fingers, meaning that the fingers and limbs just don't, like the arms, the legs, the fingers, they don't look like arms, legs, fingers. They look a little crazy. The blurriness is common to similar AI generators, and it's like the blurriness is it's unnatural. It doesn't look right. And odd anatomical proportions, meaning like the eyes are bigger, the eyes are a little bit bigger, the hands are a little bit bigger, the forehead's bigger. Like, there's just pieces of the body that they're not consistent with how humans actually look, which is kind of dangerous because, it's like, that's kind of dangerous because it's like, well, if you don't look at that picture long enough, you don't even realize that, like, that's not even a real human being. That's an AI generated picture. And then, of course, again, no corroboration, no corroborating eyewitnesses or photos. No people were there. Again, we live in a world of phones. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a camera. I understand that this is still a hurricane, but like, there's videos of people experiencing hurricanes. So why are there no videos of this situation? Like, there's none. That's kind of already a point. But a quick note, the defense was actually chilling. Hearing it doesn't matter if it's real, it represents truth, but fake images can manipulate emotions without providing actual evidence. Just because that image is fake doesn't mean that it doesn't drive any real emotions. Very dangerous, very dangerous. So during disasters, we just want to verify before we share, because fake images, they divert attention from real victims. So when we're experiencing these things, let's just make sure that let's make sure that we're verifying what is actually going on, what we're actually seeing, so we can keep the attention on the people that really need the help, because this can divert a lot of attention. It can affect a lot of people's livelihoods. But yeah, let's be smart about the different things that we are sharing when we see them. So how do we spot AI generated images? First things first, we're going to look at the hands. We're going to look at the fingers, because when you see missing fingers, when you see extra fingers, when you see that they bend weird, when you see that they like merge together or they don't look the same, like even when you see like merged digits and letters, like they just look unnatural. Like, I can't really explain it. Like, when you see a merging of certain things that shouldn't be merged together, like if you see an exit sign and the E and X are very close together, it's like we've all seen what an exit sign looks like. So if you see in the E and the X are just overlapping with each other or even merged together, it's like, I don't think that's a real exit sign. It looks a little weird. So when things are merged like that, start there. But also when you see humans and like animals and certain things, like let's look at the hands, look at the paws, look at the fingers, look at the limbs, because if they look a little inconsistent, they probably are. The next thing is the eyes and the face, because this gives it away. I actually generated a media pass picture and my eyes were as big as my glasses, and it's like that, it was looking a little crazy. Like I looked like an alien. So like, if you see asymmetrical eyes, if you see inconsistent lighting or blended teeth. Fortunately, I wasn't smiling in that picture, so I wasn't looking crazy. But like, if you see the eyes are bigger, or they just look a little weird. If you see like inconsistent lighting, like one side of the face is lit, and then one side of the face there has a shadow, and then in the back it's very well lit. It's like, what is going on here? I mean, it's probably a manipulated photo. And then, of course, the background and details around the photo. So, like, if you see any inconsistent text, any blurry backgrounds, or unnatural patterns, let's stop, let's sift, let's make sure that this is a real image before we do anything. Because sometimes the camera might just suck. That is also a fact. Or somebody's skills were just not very good when they took that picture. But as long as we're fact checking, as long as we're going back and we're doing some image searching, we can do our best. So reverse image search, plus use our fact checking sites. If something looks too perfect or uncanny, trust that instinct. So if something looks bad, if it feels like it's not the truth, let's go with that instinct. Let's listen to our gut. Because more times than not, we're right. That gut feeling is correct. So yeah. So now let's shift into the hidden advertising and evaluating credibility of hidden ads. And evaluating the credibility. So influencer marketing isn't inherently bad, but deception is. And let's start with the industry size. It's $21 billion. There's a lot of hidden advertising going on, and it's a $21 billion industry. So is it going away? Probably not. And this $21 billion comes from influencers marketing and their annual revenue. Influencers, we see them all the time on social media. There are companies that are pushing messages through these influencers. Some are very good. Some, they have a hidden agenda. We don't know, but this is why we fact check. And 82% of consumers, they trust influencer recommendations. And this is kind of where we need to lean into our influencers and help hold them accountable, because influencers don't always know the facts behind some of the stuff that they're pushing. So it's on us as their followers, as their supporters, to encourage them to look into the products and things that they're talking about a little bit deeper before we go out and buy these things, before we go out and support these things, because we don't always know what we're supporting. The law, the FTC, requires clear, upfront disclosure of paid partnerships, but the reality is many hide, they bury, or omit disclosures entirely. Again, this is kind of where we just know, like, we need to learn to be more open to holding our influencers accountable. And this is also where we use our fact checking stuff. Is just like, who are you working with? Why are you working with them? And why don't you want to disclose who you're working with? We got to see those things. And if we don't see them, it's not a good idea to support them, because if they're not willing to give clear disclosure on who they're working with, why they're working with them, or any disclosures that go on, I don't know. You tell me. That doesn't seem very safe to the consuming people. So why this matters? You deserve to know when someone is being paid to sell you something. Traditional ads you recognize, influencer posts, like traditional ads you recognize, and influencer posts, they feel like friend recommendations, but the truth is, you deserve to know, is this person being paid to sell me something, or does this person really believe in these products? That's a fair ask to me, at least. That's a that's something fair that you can be asking of influencers and different things that you should know before you go spend your hard-earned money. It's only fair to me. But yeah, let's give you your media analysis toolkit. So first, you got your SIFT method. We're going to stop, we're going to investigate, we're going to find, we're going to trace, and we're going to go. And that's going to be your go-to framework. We're always going to go back and double check and fact check everything that we see, because we live in a world of image, video, and contextual manipulation at a higher level than we've ever seen. Of course, next thing is we want to check with multiple sources. Never rely on one single source, especially for important claims. Like, one source is too close to none. So let's always look at multiple sources before we make our final decision. Let's always learn what's going on before we recommend, before we actually go share with the world what we think is going on. Let's actually get a deeper knowledge of it first. Examine images closely. I can't stress this one enough, because we live in a world of AI generated everything. This image you see to your right is an AI generated image. I don't have any, well, I can't say that. I do have plenty of experience in Photoshop, but like, I can't make this. Yeah, I can't make this picture just out of anywhere, but an AI can generate it in a matter of seconds. And in a world that this is only getting, like, this technology is only getting better, we need to always examine these images and these videos very closely, examine the words, examine everything. Last thing is question emotional content. If you see content that really drives emotions, if you notice that a piece of content really drove your emotions, let's pause before we share it. Because if it triggers you, you're not sharing it from a point of, I want to inform people that this is going on, or I want to inform people about what is actually happening. You're sharing it because it triggers you emotionally. So when you see those kind of things, just take a pause and stop before you share that information, and bring yourself back. Like, you deserve the time to consider what is actually going on before you share with the world. Everybody doesn't need that information immediately, and if they do, I'm pretty sure they already have it. You don't need to be the one to add on to the sharing of it. Last note is, these skills, they get sharper with practice. Just start using them today, and you'll be equipped with the tools needed to navigate this complex world of media that is only getting more and more and more complex. So this is kind of an expansion on what I was talking about with influencers. Is health influencers were warned by the FTC. So what had happened in November 2023? The FTC issued warning letters to 12 different health-related influencers and 2 trade associations. The violation, it was influencers promoted aspartame/sugar safety without disclosing industry payments, including registered dietitians. So, in quotations, aspartame increasing cancer risk? Nope, no disclosure. So posts from dietitians, like, these posts came from dietitians that were paid by the American Beverage Association, and they failed to disclose those payments. They failed to disclose those partnerships. That's very dangerous, because, yeah. And disclosures, failures, they included completely absent disclosures, buried after see more buttons, or ambiguous hashtags, and no audible disclosure in videos. And potential penalties, $50,120 plus per violation. And you can read the full announcement. I added the link here at the bottom so you can read the full announcement. But like when you see those different things, it's very dangerous. It's like you can't not share, especially when it comes to health. Like you can't not share that information that, hey, this company is paying me for this to say this. It may be true, it may be not, but we need to know that this company is paying you to share this information to us to get us to buy these certain things. And the FTC issued a warning. So for my content creators, my influencers, just know you got a $50K plus fine coming at you if you don't want to disclose some of the stuff you're working with. So just be careful, be honest. Another thing is the Google Pixel 4 and radio ads in 2022 through 2023, an FTC settlement for deceptive endorsements. The deception, nearly 29,000 radio ads featured DJs giving personal endorsements for the Google Pixel 4 camera. It's my favorite phone camera out there. I've been taking studio-like photos of everything. Saying statements like this. But the reality, most of these DJs recorded ads before they received the phone. That's already a red flag. It's like, you don't even have the phone yet. How is this your favorite phone? And how have you been taking studio-like photos of everything? You don't even have the phone. And when asked, Google claimed that we will not be able to provide devices at this time. Another thing is like, okay, well, if it's my favorite phone camera and I've been taking studio-like pictures, but then Google says, yeah, we can't even get the phones out. Why would I go buy a Pixel 4 for the camera if these people haven't even gotten it and they're lying about the photos? Ultimately, only 5 phones were provided for 29,000 ads, or 29,000 plus ads. 5 for 29,000 plus. If I was a basketball player and I shot 29,000 plus shots and I only made 5, would you trust me to shoot from the 3-point line? I doubt it, because I wouldn't trust it. So the result, Google and iHeartMedia faced a substantial $9.4 million penalty from the FTC for failing to disclose these paid endorsements. And this highlights the importance of transparency in advertising. Again, I linked the full announcement here because I thought it was an interesting read. So if you want to read it, this stuff will be available. This slideshow will be available on DCM's resource page. I'll make sure that they get it along with my other slides. So yeah, if you ever want to read it, feel free to read it. You can also search it on Google and just, search the case study for Google Pixel 4 radio ads. But yeah, if you want to do all that, you can just go to this right here. So last thing, how to spot hidden advertising. So how do we identify content is truly independent versus a paid promotion? It requires a keen eye, but let's look at these signs. So first thing, good disclosure. Like hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, placed at the top or beginning of the post. If you don't see that, it's not always a red flag, but it's also something that's like, oh, I don't see this. I need to look into this further before I believe what they say. Maybe click the see more button. And if it's there, of course, cool. Another thing is paid partnership with brand such and such. Label needs to be clearly visible, and it's often auto-generated when you do paid content because Instagram and other platforms just have like is this a paid sponsor column when you post? So it should just automatically be there. So if you don't see that, that's another red flag. Verbal disclosure. This helps at all. So this video was sponsored by Denver Community Media. Shout out to Denver Community Media. This video was sponsored by Denver Community Media. You see it in the corner. But yeah, if you see that, this is very, like now you have a certain level of legitimacy with that. And then last thing is clear, unambiguous language used. So no hidden jargon. I mean, I can't think of any examples of like jargon, but like no legal jargon, no words that you don't understand. Like if it's clear, if it's clear, then it's good. Like if it's clear, you can actually, it's more likely to be trustable. Bad disclosure looks like a hidden after a see more button or within a block of text. So, I mean, I don't always believe, like it has to be hidden in the see more button. Like if it's not in front of the see more button, it's not a good source of disclosure because, there might be a message, there might be a paid sponsorship message before that. So it's like, you never know. But if it's hidden after the see more button, just know that, like, if you don't see it before you see a see more button, then you should probably look more into that before you go buy, before you go spend your money, before you go support whatever's being sold to you. And if it's buried under 20 plus hashtags, I mean, that's already a red flag. It's like, well, I don't want to read all 20 hashtags, and people know that like the average person is not going to read through all these hashtags. It needs to be within the first at least 3. So if it's not there, then that's another thing. That's another red flag to look at. And then ambiguous terms like partner, collab, or gifted without further context. Those are that would be an example of unambiguous language being used. So because like, it's not clear, like, are you being paid for it? Are you doing this as an advertisement or is this your personal thing? It's not making it clear. And then there's only a visual disclosure with no audio cue in the video content. This one is kind of like hit or miss because sometimes the person that paid for the ad doesn't require that. And sometimes it's not like, it's not necessarily necessary for what they're doing, but it does add a certain level of validity to it when there is an audio disclosure with it. Just saying. Another thing, red flags for our hidden partnership. Let's do repeated product mentions or brand endorsements from the same influencer. Good Lord. Try to say that 3 times fast. An unnaturally perfect product placement in photos or videos. Overly glowing reviews with no criticisms, disclaimers, or a balanced perspective. So if everybody thinks this thing is perfect, it's great, there's no problems with it, there's probably something wrong with it. Direct links, discount codes, or swipe up features in bio or stories without explicit disclosure. I mean, they're obviously trying to sell you something. And they're not even showing you that they're trying to sell you something. They just want you to go check it out. Pro tip, when in doubt, assume it's an ad until proven otherwise. It's the easiest way. Your skepticism protects you from manipulative marketing. So be a skeptic at all times. So with the end of the class near, you have a complete toolkit for media literacy now. So navigating today's information landscape requires a robust set of skills. This toolkit empowers you to critically evaluate content and protect yourself from misinformation and deceptive advertising. So you now have 4 new pieces of media analysis skills. So you're a fact-checking master with the SIFT method, cross-referencing multiple sources, and recognizing common cognitive biases. You have visual detection. You have learned how to spot AI-generated images, employ reverse image searches, and analyze signs of photo manipulation. You can unmask hidden influence, so you can identify undisclosed advertising, understand influencer marketing tactics, and recognize emotional manipulation. And number 4, your continuous learning and vigilance. Because you want to continuously learn, because you're continuing to stay vigilant, you are staying updated with emerging media trends, and you're maintaining healthy skepticism. So that's always helpful. And your other resources you have are Snopes.com, renowned fact-checking website. You have the International Fact-Checking Network, the IFCN. It's a global network of fact checkers. I mean, we have a global network of people that know the facts. News Literacy Project is educational resources for news literacy, and then FTC Consumer Information. So this is where you can learn more about advertising rules and consumer protection laws. Thank you for participating. And your critical thinking skills are now more vital than ever. These 4, and just know that these 4 bullet points are all links. You can click on them if you have the slideshow, which will be available with DCM. Thank you for joining, and I will see y'all later.